Okay.
All right, so I'm very excited to introduce our next guest. He's a real dentist, guys. He's a real dentist, okay? The only way I can describe it as like you're kind of like EME royalty, East meets East royalty. He's the kind of guy for the audio listeners, like girls come on, they're like, "Oh my God, Daniel's so hot. Daniel's amazing. He's so smart." So, you guys are in for a treat. Let's see if he's really smart and really handsome and really tall. So, all right. But yeah, I am really excited for this next guest. I think he's really smart. He has a very unique worldview that I don't think he can tell people because of where he is. But he is based in Washington, D.C. He live streams. So, welcome, Dr. Daniel.
Hi, Lee. Glad to be here with you. It's a nice introduction, probably nicer than I
Woohoo. All right. So,
deserve.
can you tell us if is it even possible to be a dentist and funny at the same time?
I'd say no, not really, because I
No.
feel like absolutely not. Since I bet most of us are just or the worldview is that we're just a bunch of sadists, and we're here to make your lives miserable. You know, poke your gums, tell you that you don't floss enough, make you feel like you're not doing whatever you do isn't good enough, and we're out here mostly hurting people. Otherwise, I think we'd probably be comedians. But we're not there yet. We're usually just, but I think actually my real opinion is probably that like most of this, I think just healthcare in general. Like I don't know if you watch like Scrubs or something like that. I think
Mhm.
in general healthcare professions, we're in like this sort of unique situation where we're doing the bedside manner thing, and you can't laugh at certain things. And I feel like a lot of times I want to laugh, and some of it's not funny, just like something stupid like. Sometimes when something is uncomfortable, I can hear the patient go, "Rrrr," and I
Are they
want to
farting?
sometimes burst. No, they're just going, they're going, "Rrrr," like, cause it hurts, but there's stuff in their mouth, so they're like,
Right.
"Rrrr," and I want to laugh, and sometimes I let it happen. I laugh, and I go, "See, that is not funny.
Funny.
I'm sorry about that," but just the noises can be funny, or the
Mhm.
situation. I can see that they're in pain, but I have to keep going. Sometimes there's not really a choice. Most of the times it's painless, but
Mhm.
occasionally I see or discomfort's like, "Rrr," and
Mhm.
I just keep going.
Interesting.
Uh, but yeah, since we're in that situation a lot, I think a lot of times I make up, like I imagine a lot of weird scenarios, a lot of funny scenarios. I can't think of it at the time, but sometimes it just kind of pops into my head, and
Mhm.
I'm like, oh man, that would be hilarious if this thing was going on. Or sometimes I'm like, maybe I should say something. Like I live in DC, so it's like a political area. Everyone's got
Right.
something to
Right.
say, and sometimes I look at the person and I can kind of tell when they walk in, they say something. Did you see the news? You can sort of see where they lean, and
Mhm.
sometimes every occasionally I will do it where I'm just being mean. I'll say everything that they don't believe, and I'll just kind of,
Oh, can
and
you
they
give an
while they're
example? Well,
while they're
you
loaded
can't
up.
say
No,
it.
just while they're loaded up, like
Yeah.
you'll say stuff like you could say like, I can't believe it, whatever like Trump did or something, and then
Yeah.
you just go in, you're like, yeah, I agree with a lot of this stuff, and you start saying stuff, and you
Yeah.
see the frustration going on, and then at some point, sometimes they get really upset and they like start taking stuff out of their mouth. Like, you know what? And I go, just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's hilarious. Oh my
I'm
God.
just, I was just saying that I was just for a reaction. Um,
That's
I do a lot of
hilarious.
talking to try and keep the feel, like the procedures can go long, so I try to keep the procedures at least moving along in their head, so that by
Mhm.
distracting them with whatever topics I got for the day.
Mhm. I see.
Uh,
So, a lot of people know you through this app called East Meets East and live streaming. Can you tell us, like, what has that been like? Why did you do that?
that one was interesting because I actually did not know about it. I was in Vegas with one of my friends, two of my friends actually, and one night we had come back from like a long night of clubbing. I think we saw like Tiesto or something, and we came back to the room and we were laying down and we're like, man, in a couple hours we have to be up so we can do whatever activities that we planned. Next day we're like, oh, we have these, we have another concert to go to, like a beach club or something like that, or a pool club during the day. And one of my friends like was looking at his phone. I guess he opened up his dating app or something, and we went to the video section, and he goes, "Oh man, there's a video section." He's like, I was kind of like, I like looked over, we're laying on the same bed. I looked over at his phone. I go, "What is that?" And I was listening to him, and it seemed like it was like really early on. I think they just added a section, and initially there's just like girls on there that seemed highly uncomfortable, not really nothing really interesting. People asking them questions, because you can see the girl, she's doing stuff, she may or may not be doing stuff. Usually it just ends up being like a staring contest. You're just kind of staring at you to the camera, and you're staring at them. And people ask like just lame questions, I guess, because guys, they don't want to like blow their shot. So basically they just ask like very polite questions, and it's so superficial. And I'm like, you're not going to go anywhere, because you're the 100th guy probably on here that said hello or what's your favorite color, just repeating the same questions. So I started trying to mix it up, but sometimes they wouldn't play along. So then
what questions do you ask, Dr. Daniel?
Questions that I ask, a little bit more, I like a little more hard hitting, or sometimes it's just like
a little bit.
Yeah, just something random, It's not always like, I don't usually do like weirdly like sexual questions or anything like that. I just ask like I don't know, like sometimes it's like sometimes political of nature, or I try to, my favorites is always to try and slide them over to like ethnic question. Is it ethnic or racial questions?
Oh, like actually
no,
ethnic ones.
Yeah, ethnic ones, because I feel like that can open up the platform for people to say, either inappropriate things or funny things.
That's interesting. So why do you think Koreans are the way they are?
That's yeah. Why I would say that there's a unique parenting style that I think that Koreans get. We get from what I know, from my experience, and most of the Koreans I know here, it's gonna be a little bit different because I'm Korean American. I was raised here, and the culture actually diverged when after a lot of Koreans came over after the Korean War. The cultures diverged. They're a little bit different. Korean Americans will be different than the maybe Koreans. They kind of went separate ways. But I know it's like a lot of hard work, and they just want. I mean, it's not unique to Korean culture, but like with Asian culture, just they're usually driving you. Whatever you do is never good enough.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
love.
There's not a lot of like, embrace me, baby. Not a lot of that. There's a lot of just like, you do your part, I do my part. You're a student, and you do what a student does all the time, and I am a parent, and I will provide. And in the unspoken, it's like a very business-like relationship.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like I hired you, or I created you. I created you, and I.
Can I return you? Can I return you?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't in Asia. In some parts of Asia, you can just return them to
if
the
you're
ground.
born a girl, if you're within the 9 months, you actually are returnable.
Yeah, or sometimes you hit the you're 5 years old. You know what? We're just gonna dig a hole. No more. But in general, you can't return them. But we got, I guess, like we just get a lot of pressure from them to do well, and they do it like in a business relationship where I feed you, I clothe you, and a lot of the times they will financially back you for whatever you really need in your academic pursuit. That's generally the idea behind a lot of Asian Americans. I do see that it's kind of interesting because, like, sometimes American Americans or white Americans, I see their parents like really trying to push them out the house at 18. They're like, college is on your own. Get your loan. If you're still living at my house, then I'm gonna charge you rent. Charging your kid rent? That's a different culture, but I think in Asian American culture, and usually in Asian culture in general, even in Asia, usually the parents will kind of financially back you as much as they humanly can, whether it means taking on a second, third, fourth, fifth job, night shift, it doesn't really matter. They'll put in the hours for you as long as you kind of return the favor. Because I think a lot of it, like their parenting style with their community is a lot like, it's kind of like a flex, right? The ultimate Asian flex can
Flex.
kind of be like, you know what? Like, what's your kid do? It's like, my
Right. Yeah.
kid's
Exactly.
going to
Exactly.
Harvard or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they kind of flex on each other that way, and they try to keep the family image intact, and they try to. Academia is that's highly stressed for the kids, and the kids are completely driven by it. So they either make it, and I think the majority do make it, but every once in a while you get a big collapse or a falling out, or a rift forms between the family and the child. But that's part of it, you know. They put you in a highly challenging environment. They expect the most, probably more than you can actually do, and I think that keeps you on track. So I think that's a there's so many different parenting styles. I don't think one is better than the other. It sets you up to produce a certain product, right? Like you got a company. Some companies rely on volumes, and some of them rely on craft things. They charge more. Well, that's just a different style. You might get a different product.
Yeah. So do you feel like your parents are finally like happy with you now that you're like a dentist and you pretty much
So,
follow? I mean, are they happy or no? Never gonna be happy.
yeah, I think secretly they're probably satisfied, but I think that for them, well, maybe it's the other way. Maybe they're secretly not satisfied, but I'd say that they're overall okay, but I'm sure they always want more, right? They
Right.
always want
Right. Like, why aren't
more
you married?
hours.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where's more money, more hours, own something, buy a big house, or then it's the kids, right? It's funny because I think like I was saying before, it's totally academics, academics, academics. Don't worry, your significant other will show up. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Don't date because that's going to take away from your academic time. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're an adult. You did all the stuff that they sort of wanted you to do, be doctor guy. They always wanted you to choose professions that have low floors.
Mhm.
Uh, at the worst possible, as a doctor, you'll probably make close to six figures. So take that profession. It's safe. They don't want you swinging for the moon. They don't want you to do something on yourself, crazy by yourself. They don't believe in a lot of times, especially Korean American culture or Asian American culture. They're not really believing in stuff like entertainment and stuff, which can make you a ton of money, or a new business idea that can make you a ton of money. But they want you to do the safe thing. Usually, they want you to make sure that you can provide a regular life. But all of a sudden, boom, you do that thing that they want you to do, and it switches on you, and they go, boom, where's my babies? And I go, we skipped where's the jump?
You're
Where's your
like 30 at this point. Yeah.
what do you mean where's your grandkids? Because like where was the don't I need a significant other?
Yeah.
Like
How do
they
you
just
do
want the
that? Well, so
they just want
let's.
the material.
Yeah. So like, what do you think about this? Like, do you feel like because you're on the East Coast and you told me like East Coast Asians are different from West Coast Asians? You told me one time, and I was thinking about
Uh-huh.
this. I was like, is it really that hard? Because honestly, okay, look at you. You would do well in LA, but you say it's hard for you as an Asian dude today. Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't know, and it might be a unique experience for me, but I think that in general, the East Coast isn't as saturated with Asians and Hispanics and different races in a lot of areas. The area that I live in, it's very mixed here, but it's not a ton. There's not as many as LA, and the diversity is not as quite. There's a lot of diversity, but it's not. If you want to avoid it, you can easily avoid it. Over there,
Mm,
it's a little bit
okay.
more difficult to avoid, and I think that over over here, and I'm not trying to assign a value to it because
Right.
I don't believe in like real value if this is good or bad. But in general, I think that the prototypical thing someone's looking for here, we got a lot of au pairs, international students types. They're kind of coming to the States to see America. Uh, and and get a job here, that they want the typical American experience. And I think the American boy, if you asked a whole bunch of international people that were good artists somehow to draw what you think is a good American boy, in general, they're going to probably draw just kind of a normal looking white guy that's tall, normal looking white guy. So that's kind of like what's really popular here. I was comparing and obviously it's just a random comparison because I don't really know how hot my friends are. Okay, like I don't know, I can't really evaluate them that way. But I was like, that guy, my friend here, Mike or Chris or whatever, they're like normal white guys. I'm like looking at their dating apps and I go, why can't I get any of these? You guys get matches like 9,900 a day, and I'm over here, scrapping at one, if at all. And it's kind of interesting because it's like, if Asian people see me, or if I go to the West Coast, people are like, "Did you be really popular?" And when I do go to the West Coast, I do sort of feel that way, or a little bit more popular, not as popular as if I go to Asia, but different types, right? Different places have different ideals for their beauty standard. That might be a thing, but it might be a typical, or it might just be that unique pocket that I'm in that Northern Virginia area.
Yeah. Ladies, hit him up, okay? I have a feeling after this podcast goes up, it's going to change. You're going to have so many girls like, yeah. Anyways, so how did you develop your twisted worldview?
The worldview thing is like you get your twisted worldview, like a lot of people. I think that most people that have twisted worldviews have a lot of trauma. But trauma, they say they go.
Do you feel like you're twisted though? Like, do you feel like you're normal? Like the way that you are?
Like normal, I don't think I'm normal, because here's the thing. I think that like normal, I will define it as like what most people think. I don't, not that I really want to be normal, because then I just be like everyone else.
After like 10 minutes, we should be able to tell.
Yeah, I took a.
What?
I think when I was younger, though, I wanted to be normal. I wanted to fit in. I really did. I really want. Everyone wants to when they're young. They just want to fit in. You just want to be accepted. And I had, I think part of it is like just immediately at a young age, I got dropped into this area. There was hardly any Koreans. Everyone just thought I was Chinese. And
what do Korean people think of Chinese people, really?
It changes, right? I think it's changing. I think it's changing. But
okay.
Chinese people, I feel like.
I'll tell you my view of Koreans after you tell me yours.
Yeah, I think I sort of know what the Chinese people do. I think as well, but I think Koreans usually say. I think just stingy was the one that I got when I was like younger. They're like, oh, that's so Chinese, like really holding on to their finances really tightly.
Right.
And but I don't remember any like personality things. Not like, oh, all Chinese.
We don't have one.
Like
we don't have personalities. That's the thing.
They just said this is Chinese, or you're like really not. You're not really sharing with everyone. Like, that person's so Chinese because he's not sharing, or like he doesn't know how to take his turn for paying for the meal or something.
We have no morals. We don't have a God. We're just atheists.
Just godless. The godless.
Yeah, exactly. We're godless people. We're heathens, yo. Yeah.
But you guys have everything over there, because you got West China. That's like a whole different world, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of got down here, the Hong Kong area, got a lot of English colonization influence, and then you got the Northern China. It's kind of just a bunch of guys, Mongolian influences, a bunch of guys riding. I don't think so, but riding horses or something. Open plains, riding horses.
TikTok? Yeah, there's like TikTok of this girl riding a horse and like swinging her delivery. It's amazing.
No, I haven't seen it, but that's what I thought. I just imagined the Mongolian plains, like the Mulan kind of thing, the Genghis Khan area.
Hell yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm a descendant of Genghis Khan, because I have like a blue birthmark on my butt, and it's called the Mongolian flag. Yeah. So you got that killer rapist energy.
Too.
Really?
Yeah. Thicker legs. Do you notice sometimes the ones from the plains, and I don't know if this is a real thing, but the one from the plains, like that grassy northern Chinese area, is supposed to have a thicker calves potentially, and they might have thicker calves. It might have been some sexual selection, but it probably was sexual selection. But I think it was like it's a lower center of gravity, better for horse riding. And you know how some of them, they were
Oh.
so interested in horse riding, right? The
Right,
whole
right.
culture is about getting on the
Yes.
horse and being able to
Yeah.
ride it well.
Oh, makes
So it
sense.
might be that those thick legs that might
Mm.
not be so appealing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Northern Chinese, you might want to look around. If you are into those
Mm.
thick calves,
Yeah.
that might be from that low center of
Oh
gravity.
my God, Dan, you know, like if you were born in Germany in a different time, you would be like Dr. Mengele or
Yeah.
something. Like you'd be
Yeah.
like eugenics,
Yeah.
like exterminating
Yeah.
everyone. Holy shit, you're so detailed. That's scary. So if you ruled the world, what would you do?
Assemble the harem is what I always said. Assemble
Okay.
the. That's what all male rulers do, right?
How would you
Genghis
select
Khan.
for the harem though? Like would you just go like yeah,
Nah,
how
you
would you
gotta.
select your women in your harem? Because you
You,
have the whole world, right? Like where would
well,
you pick from?
at first, you might like, might show some photos. This is my type. This is my type. You might do that initially, but then what you realize is that you rule the world and you can do anything.
Right.
You might select somebody. Might delegate. Delegate
Right, right.
this
Who would you make
person.
you choose your next harem?
Yeah, who should I choose? I choose a girl. I just want to see because just because I have the harem doesn't necessarily mean I have to sleep with it. I mean, I rule the world,
That's true.
right?
It's like a backup. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have it.
So I let them groom him and see. I do a co-ownership of the harem. One guy, one girl. They get to decide which ones they're gonna choose. I want to see. It's always interesting to see what guys think is attractive and girls think is attractive. And a guy would probably know. And maybe we even get a third person. Maybe we get a gay guy and
A
a gay
they?
girl. Or third,
A
fourth
trans.
person. They get
Oh,
different
okay.
perspectives and see if they all overlap. I want to know what the mixture is. Everyone finds this person attractive. The guy says. The gay guy says.
You're
The
so
gay girl says.
systematic. Even when you can do
Yeah.
anything, you just choose to be systematic. Okay. Anything else? You just pick a harem. That's
Uh,
it. Would you do anything?
no, I think that
Would you still do dentistry?
realistically,
Would you still do dentistry if you like?
I would. I think I still would do it. I like
Mm,
doing it, especially in short bursts.
mm.
Like if I do like an hour or two of dentistry a day, or just a little bit here and there, it's actually really fun.
Oh wow.
It's like crap time. You're building, restoring something. It's like building models.
Hmm.
It's actually pretty interesting. I like it. It's just when you have to do something as a job on a daily basis, not as fun, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
It's
it's
kind of
different.
tedious.
Hmm. So
Summer
dentistry as a
reading,
hobby. Okay, I can see
yeah,
that.
dentistry as a hobby, but summer reading is how that summer reading for me when I was a child killed reading for me as an adult. I just like, yeah, it's
Wow.
something you have to do. Uh, Good in theory, but I used to read for fun until summer reading and textbooks hit. And just
Hmm.
now I can't read things. It's just that's what I do when I'm working.
Hmm.
It's unfortunate, but
Well, what
that's
do you
what
do for
happens.
fun now?
For fun, I tend to overlap my fun with something I think is relatively productive. I will do a lot of stupid things, and the way I justify the stupid things I do, like going out and partying or drinking too much, I justify it by saying like, well, I'm doing this thing and it seems like highly destructive or not, not very productive. But I say that because I'm still keeping my relationships. I feel like
Mm.
I go out with friends, and that's part of the constructive part of it is that I keep my allegiances just in case everyone turns against me. I gotta have a couple friends that will
What are
support
you
me.
doing that would make everyone turn against you?
I don't know. I
What?
don't. Nothing yet. Nothing
Nothing
yet.
yet. Okay. All right.
Nothing yet. But at some point, you're bound to make a mistake. It's nice to have someone that backs you.
A mistake in what? Like make everyone turn against you.
You say something weird. Not everyone will turn against me.
Right.
But someone,
Right.
that I have someone, that's
What do you
supporting you. That's all.
What do you think you could say that would make your parents disown you?
That one's interesting. I'm gay. No, I don't think so. They don't actually care.
But like
Um,
maybe, right? Or
I
you make
think
so
at
much
this
money that they don't care.
So I think at this point, because I checked enough boxes, it's hard for them to the investment they've already put in, and the amount of abuse I've already put into them. They're like, it's like a bad relationship where you can't let go. Your boyfriend, your girlfriend's abusive. It's like, but I put so much time into this. I've made it this far. I can't let go. It's like a bad investment. It's just,
But your
I don't
brother's
think.
not, right? So you have a backup for your parents?
Yeah, they can always scrap me and pick up my brother. My dad, or is it my dad? One of my parents, I think it was my dad, that used to say that he's like, I'm glad I have two sons. Because like if anything I would say that is like, it's like not, he doesn't really like what I was saying or what
Oh
I was doing. He'd be
man.
like, I'm glad I have two sons. He go, if it's not you, then I can always go to the other one. I
Oh
don't
my
know
god.
how healthy that is for a growing adult.
I was gonna
We,
ask something, but never mind. Um, if you had kids, how would you raise them?
I think I would raise them like my parents. I don't want to give them too much credit because I don't like the parenting stuff, and I think most Asian people, most Asian kids nowadays it's being a little bit different. But I know that the ones similar to our age, we our parents aren't our friends usually,
Yeah,
so we're not
definitely
a
not.
big
No.
yeah, we're not into the parent thing. So like a lot of times there's a lot of resentment. I don't have resentment anymore. I did have some resentment periods of time where I resented them because I was like, I don't know if this is the right way. I'm comparing it to American culture, the way American parenting style, different parenting styles I'm comparing it to. But now I appreciate where it's gotten me. And it's kind of like that weird butterfly effect, time travel paradox. If you want to go back and you want to change something, because I worry that if I change something, then I won't be the person that I am
Right.
today.
Right.
I think that they were very hands off. My mom was always like, she was a bad cook. She's terrible at cooking, which it took me years to figure out. I didn't not till high school I figured
Does
this
it
out.
really
That I
matter though? Like,
what the cooking and stuff.
yeah, it doesn't. As long as you're
Well,
fed, do you?
Well, it did matter because I learned to cook as soon as my nanny left. So I was raised by my
You're
nanny, and my nanny left when I was 2 or 3 years old. I cried so hard for like a week straight. My mom would try to come over and comfort me, and like my mom wasn't very involved in my upbringing. She wasn't very hands on. So like I'd be like, Dad, who are you? I'm trying to
How
screw
are
dad
you?
from. And that was a traumatic experience.
Oh
But
my god.
around 3 or 4, I started. People don't believe me, but at 3 or 4, I was trying to at least put in the pots and pans on the stove, and I was putting. I could make scrambled eggs. They were slightly burned, a little overcooked, but like I turn it to highest, put some oil, and just kind of move it around until it looks okay, and then I would eat it. Me and my brother used to try to make pancakes. He was probably like 5 or 6 at the time. So you try to make pancakes, but that never worked out well because we'd have to make them really thin. We had to make them really watery so we can make crepes because we didn't understand the concept of heat control, right? If you want to make something fluffy, you got to keep it
You're
low
such
heat.
a okay, yeah, keep going. You're so
But
scientific with every okay, yeah, I know.
this is what I'm saying. Like she was very hands off, and even when I got into trouble at school, she would never get involved. Or like the neighbor, she'd be like, "That's not my kid. I'm
Were
not
you a
going to get
trouble
involved."
were you a troublemaker in school? Like what were you like in school actually?
In school, initially I got dropped into preschool extra early. I guess they were using it as kind of a daycare, but I couldn't speak any English, so I had very weirdly enough, I did have friends. I don't know how, but I did have friends, but I couldn't speak any English until I was like 4 or 5. And I remember that being a big thing where I was trying to like fit in all the time because I couldn't. And sometimes I would get in trouble because I get really frustrated and I feel like I can't communicate with somebody. So then I wasn't very violent until I think a little bit after that. I got a violent after I kind of integrated a little bit. When I went to other schools like first grade, kindergarten, not kindergarten, but like I think starting grade school, first grade, maybe because like when I was really young and I don't really recall too much, but like just like the frustration, maybe they like kids picked on me because I was the only Asian person in every
All
class.
right, yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe I did. I don't recall it, but maybe I did. And I remember that like when I moved into my next school, my grade school, there was like someone who was like a bully. But I'd always be the weird kid that would bully the bully, like almost like prison culture. I went in there
Oh,
and
let's hear this. This is
I
cool.
beat up the bully. Like the first thing I did was
Nice.
beat up the bully. And it might have, I'm not sure if it was really an attempt to get people to like me. I think I realized that if I did, once I did that, people did like me.
Mm.
But what it was that like I could see that they were picking on other people, and they were also, even if they weren't necessarily picking on me, I almost like I felt I could feel the empathy for the other people that they're picking on. So at some point, like when the teacher would walk out the room, I don't know, it became a trend because I don't have clear memories of that time,
Hmm.
but it became a trend when the teacher, I don't know when I first did it, but when the teacher walked out the room, sometimes I'd pull the kid over the chair and I just started beating him. I don't even know why I did that. Like I just
It's
pulled him,
a
and
Korean
obviously,
rage. It's K rage.
yeah, I just pulled him over the chair, and like, and the thing is, like, I think probably when I do it, like, he doesn't even know I'm gonna do it because it's just like he didn't do anything to me. So I just pulled him over the chair and start beating him with a textbook or whatever I had. And then the weirdest thing was that like one of the kids, his name is Scott. Weirdly enough, he just stood up and he would run over to the door and look out. And basically, he would tell me if the teacher's coming back. And so I pulled this guy over the chair. I think the guy's name was Nathaniel. I still don't like the name because that one I remember. He's just a big bully, and
The bitch name. Yeah.
Nathan or Nathaniel. Yeah, I just now it just has a bad feeling to
Mm.
me. But I used to almost hit him all the time, or like pick on him. I became the bully. Weirdly enough, I became the bully, but I only bully
That's
the guy that was
hilarious.
being the bully.
But I don't think that's really
So
bullying. I
then
feel like
all,
it's self-defense, but yeah, okay.
but it's not like he was bullying me. It was just like I just
Oh,
didn't
you
like him
just
because everyone else didn't like him.
you're
Yeah, and
mean, but that's cool. So
yeah,
what are
that's
your thoughts? What
yeah.
are your thoughts on mean people and nice people? Because I like your theory. The way you explain it is good. Can you explain your thoughts on mean people and nice people?
I don't know if there's like a mean person.
Or like a
Uh
competent person?
like what do you mean? Like that one. I remember now. It's
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, yeah.
I feel like some people will think that somebody's mean, but I think mean is like sometimes a value thing. Like mean, some people come off as mean because they're trying to keep people at bay. Because I think that
Mhm.
mean people might not be what you think they are. They might be actually more nice than anything else. If it's later on in their life, it might be that they're mean because they're trying to keep you at bay. Because a lot of times, some of these people are converted sympathetics, empathetics. So they used to
Mm,
be empathetic people, but they realize that they can't keep everyone because I want to
mm,
collect. Like for me, I feel like I'm that way where I want to collect everyone as my friend and take care of them, but I realize that not everyone, and because I have limited resources and time
right.
and stuff, I
Hmm.
not everyone I can take care of. So I almost try to push everyone away initially, but if they keep coming back and they actually end up becoming my friend, of course I'll take care of them.
Mm,
My friends will. I think most of my friends, if they're really my friends, they'll pretty much they'll back me anytime, even when I'm wrong, because
mhm.
they know that I care. But initially, I kind of come off as mean because I try to keep everyone at bay, and I think it's a value thing. It's like someone who has a lot of value or their time is important. They
Mhm.
might kind of keep pushing you away because they're trying to keep a separation and they're trying not to get emotionally attached to you.
Mhm.
Whereas someone who's like really nice, someone really nice all the time, usually if you see someone that's really nice, a lot of times they don't
Mhm.
really end up becoming like your best friend because like they don't usually have a lot to offer. Sometimes they're nice because they have to be nice, right? They don't
Mhm.
they Someone who's a dependent like a child has to be nice to their parent, otherwise parent goes, you know what, I don't like you and I control everything about your life. So like you have to be nice to your boss. Do you want to be nice to your boss is a different thing. uh your boss doesn't have to be nice to you because he's your boss. It's good sometimes, and sometimes people are nice to each other because they derive benefit. I might own you or be your boss, but I might want to be nice to you so that you work a little bit harder for me, or you don't get as much resistance, keep the atmosphere. But it is kind of like a thing that's like a more of a tool. Nice is more of a tool than maybe the only person that will really know if someone's nice or mean is probably the individual themselves, right? You know if you're doing it because you're trying to get something, get an angle, or you'll know if you're doing it just because you just feel like it. I feel like for me, I actually just feel like when I see someone getting made fun of, or I see somebody like in pain, I feel it. And so I walk away a lot of times because I just have to. I have to get myself out of the situation. But it's such a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if I help, I don't want to help because it's like, God, it's gonna take so much time. I have other things to do. But then if I walk away, I almost feel pain because I'm like, I could have just helped. Like, and a lot of times I find myself helping if I possibly can, or if I don't have something else to get to. Because and someone goes, why do you do that? You don't have to help, you know. And I said, well, for me, I feel bad if I don't help, and if I do help, if it's something quick I can help really easily, let me just help so that like that way I don't stay up at night thinking about it. You know, like, fuck, I should have helped. But
Yeah, that's such a great explanation. I'm really glad you said it because you said like niceness is like a tool and not actual value. And I think that summarizes why like girls don't like nice guys because it's like you have nothing to offer, right? Like if something like somebody tries to invade you, like tries to kill your family, the nice guy is going to be like, oh, I don't know what to do, right? But the mean guy, he has claws, but he can retract it. So I feel like that's a really good whatever you said, it's really good. I feel like you
yeah,
should record your live streams because it's so good. That's why I'm doing this with you, because I feel like other people should know how smart you are. But that's a really good explanation.
thanks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a tool. I think being able to be mean is a tool. Actually, if you can't be mean, that's the weirdest thing. That's not someone you want to be with if they don't have a survival tool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not a nice world out there.
Yeah, because
You
they're a
need to.
child, basically. Yeah, you have to take care of them instead of like them taking care of themselves. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
In terms of
definitely. I
survival.
don't.
All right. So,
Uh,
what's been your dating experience?
Dating experience, I started off like everyone else does. You get your first. Some people get super lucky. They win the lottery. They hit the right person right off the bat. I think for the most of us, we're 98%, 99%, maybe more of us. Usually, we get a bad dating experience initially because we got Disney feeding us ideas of how relationships should be. I remember I stayed in way too long for my initial one because. And it's like, no, it's got to work out. Band's going to make it. Like, they never break up in these Disney movies. We're just going through some tough times. Sometimes you just gotta let go. You gotta know when to let go. Some cost, so you gotta let it go. But that happens sometimes. But initially, I think I had one that we're kids. I think the girl I met with the girl at church. She was, she was way more advanced than I was. She was younger than me by a year or so. But like I didn't know anything. I was like an
How old were you
innocent little
guys?
kid. I was 16 maybe.
Oh, then
16,
okay,
15,
okay.
16, yeah.
Okay.
But she was she did a lot of physical stuff. She did like the kissing and almost every I mean, like the thing was like you did the kissing, the touching. No going all the way because I was, like it's your kid in church and you're not supposed to. But almost everything else she did, and I was like, "Well, that's crazy." But also, she just kind of like, she's a kid. She doesn't really know what she wants. She wasn't very loyal. That was the problem. That she just kind of
Mm,
like was doing that with everybody, and it's a difficult thing. We're trying to get it to work out, but at some point, I'd have to be like, enough is enough. Everyone's got that thing where they're cheating on someone that's like a friend, brother, sister, or something like that. It's just really close to home, and you're like, I don't want you to, someone cheating's already bad, but the closer it gets to your house, or the closer the person is to your best friend or something, it starts getting too much. And at some point, I just had to let go. After that, I feel like it set the tone. I felt like I lost a lot of trust then, and
yeah, that's
in
fair. Yeah,
general,
makes sense. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've been picking. And the weird thing is that I think I pick like most of us, I think we pick the same person over and over again because the thing is we like meet them the same way, or like when you
Mm,
go into a relationship, there's only that first relationship that you really have experience with, and you're like, oh, this is how I used to act. So you kind of act the same way. It's almost like when you see your old friend and you used to, you see your
yeah,
middle
you go
school friend.
back. Yeah, you go
Yeah,
back
you
a
go
little bit.
back
Yeah, yeah,
and you
yeah.
go back, and I feel like it kind of sets the tone for everything to come. I made significant changes like on purpose. Later on, I've been doing just trying different things, like uh, refusing to satisfy my instinctual response sometimes. Just the scientist and just hey, what if I do this instead? What if I be
Mm-hmm.
mean instead of nice? Or what if I choose a girl that I don't like? Like maybe I don't physically like her, but let's
Mm-hmm.
just go with it. Let's go on this date. Let's not put any filters. Let's do a randomized trial. Randomized might be better, especially if your initial dating experiences have been bad. Maybe a random trial is better than you allowing your, kind of like your biases to get in the way. So I had an interesting one. In general, I think that if something's going to be working out, like if you think a relationship will work out, I think it will work out. I think that you don't need to make it exclusive or anything like that. I like to, maybe it's like a capitalistic view, but I like to keep it totally open. I'm not saying I want my girlfriend to cheat, or I want my significant, or the one person I like. It's not that I want them to cheat like that. I just like it because
Like
I
freedom,
don't
like
want,
you don't have to be
you know,
restricted. Yeah, I understand.
yeah, and sex and love. I think they're totally, they overlap to some
Mm-hmm.
extent, but they like
Right, they're separate.
obviously
Yeah.
different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, you can love someone. I mean, your parents love you. They don't necessarily have sex with you. I mean, if they do, you gotta call somebody. you gotta call somebody. But
What was the question? Don't have sex with their parents.
yeah, don't have sex with your parents is the answer. But the
Oh my
question,
god. Yeah. What?
lost track, lost track
Oh,
of the
dating.
question.
Yeah. What has been your dating experience?
Yeah, my
No.
dating experience.
So, like, do
But
you
in
feel?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go for it. You gotta
Like,
direct me
okay,
more, otherwise I.
because
Yeah.
I'm from a woman's perspective, right? So obviously you're very
Yeah.
successful, very good looking, you're young. Do you feel like you don't really need to, what did I say? You don't really need monogamy because women kind of come to you? Or do you feel like you try to search, but you're so jaded that you don't really want a label? Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying. I see.
Yeah.
Kind of like you're saying. Oh,
Because
well,
you're
like
not
some people,
dying, right? You're not
they
dying. You
need
don't
that.
have to be married. Yeah, you don't have this urge
Yeah.
to like go. Maybe
To
it's
cling on, or
yeah,
like
yeah,
I have
exactly.
to.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
keep them away.
Right.
That could. You're probably right. That probably is probably insightful. That might be part of it. But I think that so the logical part of me that says that I shouldn't do this, not necessarily monogamy, because I do want that to be a thing, but this exclusivity thing I don't like, especially in the early on in the dating stages, because I think the curiosity can really crush a relationship later. And I really
Mm,
want it to be like a free market kind of thing. It's like,
right,
hey,
right.
you can
Because you
sleep
don't
with
want to
him.
choose a wrong
Yeah.
person. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want them to explore, because a lot of times I'm a guy, so I generally, generally guys go for girls that are slightly younger than them. The experiences generally kind of line up, because girls usually start a little bit younger and
Hmm.
guys start a little bit later. Not always, but that's just kind of generalities. But in general, I don't want, especially if the girl's a lot younger than me.
Hmm.
It's like a 4, 5, 6, 8 year gap. Then I don't want them. I don't want to be like, yeah, you're totally exclusive and bound to me, and that might make them feel trapped. I want them to, for me, above all, anything I can do, above the sex part, the
Hmm.
physical attractive part.
Right.
I think that the choice is the biggest, it's the biggest gratification that I get on a daily basis. If someone chooses to be with you on a daily basis, regardless of the rules say that you can leave me at any time. You can take any guy home in this bar, but yet, and I, not just the rules have to say it, that my expression and the way I treat them has to say that. So like if they go home with somebody else, I can't be sore about it later. I have to be okay with it. And my point is, by doing it this way, you know that you're winning every time. This is a choice. This is not.
Did you get cut off? I think you got.
This.
Okay, you're back. Hello.
Oh yeah, this is not some sort
Okay.
of rule that's keeping us together, right?
Right. 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 Yeah. Because
This
you
is by
choose
choice.
like love is like a. Okay, that makes sense. So do
Yeah,
you
and I
feel
want
like
that
it's
choice to be every day. Yeah.
okay? That makes sense. So do you feel like it's because like you went through so much medical school, like you just sacrificed so much of partying. Now you're in this concentrated burst where you want to have as much fun as possible. Do you feel like that's a
There's
factor?
that. There's a little part of that. I think a lot of it I did burn through some of that. That 2 year phase after you get your degree and you get your job, and all of a sudden you finally have a a time to explore and you
Right,
have your
exactly. Because
finances.
I've met so many like younger doctors and they're like so awkward, but I know they're ready to just like it's like they're fresh out of jail, you know? It's like
Yeah,
yeah, it's
they're ready. That's like a
yeah,
college kid.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
you see, if he's only been practicing for 1 or 2 years, that's like usually a college kid. He's out. He wants to see what
yeah,
he can do now. What kind
yeah.
of damage can we do? But that plays a role in it. I remember going to a wedding when we just got out of school. It was like a year after school, and I remember the docks tables. We had a couple dock tables, and we had a couple just like just you had the artist tables and just like because it was a high school. My friend's high school friends and his professional like graduate school friends. So
Mhm.
he was a dentist and he had doctors and comparing the two, and they're about the same age because it's an academic age, but comparing the two, the dock table came ready to play every time. And actually we had someone come over who was he's like a dancer or a break dancer for some of these I don't know, some of these it is famous, but I don't know a lot about it. But he came over and he's like, "Who are you guys? You guys come here loaded and ready to party to every event." We're like, "Oh, we're Ryan's dental school friends." They're like, "Wait, is that all? Like, is it a medical school and dental school?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is all medical and dental school. Both these tables are." And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You guys are crazy. They show up all the time. They're like just insane." And he goes, "That's the future of our healthcare." And I go, yeah.
Ah.
Everyone's got a drink in
That's
their hand.
hilarious.
Yeah. You can take a shot or
Oh my god. Man, that's hilarious. Okay. Now the real questions why I really brought you to this podcast. Okay. Which type of doctor should I date?
uh, mine is anesthesiologist,
Okay,
right?
why? What is
And
that for people who don't know?
that's the doc that preps you when you need to go to sleep for any kind of surgical procedures. Uh, he's the one who like tells you to count backwards. I think in general, I think one of the hardest parts about being a doctor is patient management. Assuming that you're a good doctor and you know your stuff, hardest part is patient management. And anesthesiologists, this is the patient management part. Hey, tomorrow I'm gonna put you to sleep, okay? And that's all you're gonna see about me. And they might not even remember. They might half the time they don't even remember the guy that
Right,
put
right.
them to
Yeah,
sleep.
that's true.
It's count backwards from 10, and you get through two numbers, you're out like a light. You're just gone.
Yeah.
And it's pretty. I'm not saying it's never stressful, but now with the computers and stuff, like you can have multiple people put to sleep, and the computers are monitoring everything, and you get an alarm when something's going wrong, and that way you're notified to go to that room. In generally, if they're not medically compromised, this is an easy job. It's not easy. It's hard to get there, but because complications, you're always preparing for the worst. But in general, on a day-to-day basis, it would be a relatively easy job. I'm getting this information from my dad's friend who's an anesthesiologist. He's like, yeah, I don't know how
Oh.
you guys do it. He goes, patient is awake when you're doing dentistry. He goes, that's crazy.
Crazy.
He goes, insane. He goes, you guys don't get paid enough. He goes, because for him, he's like, this is a good job because you just go to, put him down. He's like, I can kind of just relax. He doesn't have to be really formal. You can switch into sweatpants for anyone else here. They're not gonna remember because the anesthesiologist, they put you to sleep. You got an amnesiatic part as well as the sleep part. So when you lose consciousness, even if you did have some consciousness left in you, they put a lot of the drugs have an amnesiatic effect. So even if you were awake and you were responding, if you don't remember, it didn't happen basically. So you just go, you remember that time you were talking to me? You don't remember.
Oh my god.
They also make really good money. So they make good money. Should be a relatively low stress job. They can knock out many patients all at once. They're usually scheduled ahead of time. It's not like you're putting someone to sleep. Emergency. I put this person to sleep.
That's
And they got the
hilarious.
good drugs. They can hook you up. Hey, I'm having trouble sleeping. No problem. No problem.
That's hilarious. Where do I find them? Do I have to go to medical conferences? Like, how do I enter into that world?
I guess there's equipment, so you could go into sales of that sort of thing. If you want
Oh,
to,
sales. All right.
equipment.
Taking
I know
notes.
there's sales. They have a anesthesiologist equipment sales, or I'm sure everyone's got conferences. See, those conferences are usually open to most people. You can walk in. And I think if you're not related in any facility at all, I think you can still buy tickets to a lot of these conferences. You can
Okay, this is
show up
my
and sit.
okay, this is my strategy, Daniel. I'm going to become a stand-up comedian for corporate and hospitals, and I'm going to be a speaker, and I'm going to get them all that way.
Ah,
That's my strategy. Yeah. Yeah.
see you.
We'll see how that
Bring them
works.
in.
Right? This podcast too. So I can show, oh, I'm like a real, like, I care about people, you know, I'm like interviewing
Yeah.
people, but not.
They're trying to get mine. Trying to get mine. Where can I find my out?
All right. So any other specialties? What do you think about radiologists and pathologists in terms of like autism level?
Yeah, so all these guys are behind the scenes guys in the
Okay.
systems part. And I remember, so radiologists, they read x-rays. Pathologists generally combined with radiology, they look at x-rays or they look at tissue samples and see what the problem is.
Mhm.
That can be done in a behind the scenes setting. Generally, those people are not very social because that's what they chose that profession to get away from the patient.
Mhm.
And it's almost like in a big business, usually the feared side is the client side, the client facing side, because you're the
Mhm.
face of the company. They don't know anything about your industry. They're yelling at you, I don't deserve this kind of abuse. So you try to get yourself retreat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that way someone else gets yelled at and you're in the back and you're like, I don't know why they yell
Yeah.
at you. Even
That's
though you're the one
hilarious.
who made the mistake. You're like, I made the mistake. I'm this guy.
What about the social? What are the most social doctors, I think?
The social doctors, I would say, are probably your primary cares. I don't know if they want to be social, but they have to
They're
see
forced to
everyone.
be.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they're forced to be. They're going to see everyone. They get involved in your family. They see your kids'
Yeah. I have
kids.
to. Yeah.
They have
What
to do
about
their stories.
surgeons? What about surgeons?
Surgeons, there's two types. I feel like there's at least two types of surgeons. There are obviously more types. So there's one who's just like climbing. They want to get involved. They want to be the serious guy. They want to go fix stuff. There's that guy. Of course, there's always just the guy who's doing it because he wants to get paid. But it seems like a glamorous profession. But this is the area where you might run into the kind of guy who might be a little bit, a little bit narcissistic, a little bit, the God complex kind of doctor. You docs think you know everything. Hey man, I just resuscitate that guy. That guy was dead for 20 minutes and I just resuscitated him. I mean, kind of a big deal.
I appreciate your coat today because usually you're like naked on your
Yeah.
live stream.
Usually I'm getting ready for the gym, which
Mhm.
naked or I'm switching clothes. Uh, doctor mode, bro mode, bro
You're a
gym guy.
Proctor? Is that
Bro,
Proctor?
broker, bro, bro.
That's weird.
Um,
I don't like that. It's weird.
yeah.
But all
Uh,
right, let's hear some dental jokes.
dental jokes. I don't have a lot of dental jokes. I know that the ones that are the ones there's always because I think one of the patients got me onto it. Or I was standing in line at a bar. This is the first time I ever heard like a really weird joke. I was standing in line at a bar in Boston, getting ready to go in the Seaport area, and there was just this hammered girl, just absolutely trashed, in line with me, and she went and she was like, hey, she kept touching me. I didn't know. I thought she was like talking to her friend. She kept touching me. I looked back and I was like, yeah, hey, let's get out. And she's like, hey, who are you? Daniel. Are you a dentist? Or she's like, what do you do? Are you I was like, I'm a dentist, and then she goes, oh, okay. She's like, I like dentists. She's like, hey, can you like give me a filling? And I was just like, what? Do you have like cavities or something? And she's like, no. Like tonight, can you like give me a filling? Can we like the drilling and filling? Isn't that what you guys do? You have any white fillings for me? I was like, whoa. And then it took me a while because I just kept thinking that she had a cavity because, I'm in PT at
You're
the time.
actually, yeah, okay.
Do you
Yeah.
have a cavity? And she's like, oh, I got some cavities. And I was just like, yeah, you should, like, here's my student doctor card. Here's my student, which is good because I gave her at least a contact information, a point of contact. But I had no idea. But now I know. So there's a lot of those dirty jokes: the drilling,
Hmm.
filling,
Right,
cavities,
right, right.
white fillings, oral jokes, like a lot of, or are you gonna give me an oral exam or something like that. But there's a couple. There's a couple of the easy ones. I think like Vin, one of my friends, he was saying like, he goes, hey, what's Dennis' favorite time or something? 2:30, 2:30.
Uh,
Yeah, that one. That's
I know
that's
Vin.
a,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's his
the
humor.
pun.
Right,
Uh,
right.
we
So,
got
yeah.
yeah, you got a couple of these like stock ones. Why did the deer need braces? He had buck teeth, because male. Deer. The family friendly.
That's good. Oh, I mean, this is explicit podcast, so it's all
No, it
good.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so if you weren't a dentist, what would you do?
I said I would say nothing at all. But
Oh wow.
that's the nihilistic part of me, right? That's
Mhm.
like me being like nothing matters because it doesn't matter. You try to do some good, which I actually believe. If you try to do something good,
Mhm.
there's a backlash of bad that comes with it. Like if you go, there's like this thing where if you donate food to a certain country all the time, then
Mhm.
they might never develop their agricultural base because they're
Right, right.
counting on your food. But my point is, there's always a good thing, there's a bad thing to every part. You do a good thing, the bad thing kind of occurs. But I would say if I was being a little bit more serious, I would say I probably want to be a teacher because they have the easiest job. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to bash teachers, but I like being a teacher because I think that's where it's needed. I mean, like if you really want to make a change in the world, you have to shape a lot of young minds, and I
Mhm.
think that that's the most important thing. I think it's overstated, but I mean, I get the most gratification. I don't find it really hard to be a teacher. I'm not saying it's not hard to be a
Yeah, you're
teacher.
teaching us
It
right
just
now.
seems
Like,
natural.
yeah, yeah. I think you do have that professor, like,
Yeah,
scientist gene within
yeah,
you.
I like it though. So I would, and I think that's what's lacking. I think one of the I'm a big democracy, free market, capitalist person, and I would say that the most important thing is that you need to have really educate. If your population is making the decision that they're voting, we're in a voting, country. So if your voters are uninformed or they're not smart and they're not being taught properly to think open-mindedly, then you're gonna ruin. You can run a democracy into the ground. The democracy is built on that the individuals in your democracy are relatively educated, and I don't know, I don't want to be like negative, Nelly or something, but I question even in the states we're pretty highly educated compared to a lot of countries, but even we got ways to go. Definitely have ways to go, and I think that's probably where I think I can make a bigger influence than maybe treating one mouth at a time here.
Hmm.
So
Which is so, like, what do you do day to day?
day to day, I usually see patients. I usually just do the dental grind. I have a private practice, um, but day to day, of course, there's management aspect to it, but that doesn't happen day to day. Maybe it's just small decisions, which lab we're using, what we're going to charge this patient, what normally goes on here and there. But day to day, I just kind of like one on one with my patients. I don't even double, triple book usually. I usually go, generally 30 minutes to an hour with every patient. I talk to them. I do. I'm a big talker. You guys can tell I'm a big
I
talker.
love it. It's
So
great. It's great. Yeah.
I chit chat with the patients. I get them comfortable. I talk through almost my whole procedure. Sometimes it's just teaching because I know that that's one of the big pet peeves. I can't respond to the dentist when he's talking to me. He keeps asking me questions. I don't ask questions. I usually tell him, "No, we're doing this part." I just go step by step for the procedure, and I might talk about my industry, secrets of the industry, why some dentists don't do their own cleanings, like the financial aspects that a lot of dentists kind of shy away from. I kind of like tell them that way. It's kind of like rapport building, and I generally am being honest. And I honestly set up this practice more geared towards like a good quality dental experience with more barbershop vibes than like a factory kind of thing. I'm not just here trying to like I'm not like I do have like a business minor kind of, but I'm not here to like optimize profit. This is far from that. It's just a better dental experience with like a little less stress. Yeah. It's kind of like, you go see your hairdresser and you talk and you get familiar with the person. I'm sure, of course, I can cut the conversation down by half and just do my procedure, get in, get out, or get a hygienist to do your teeth cleaning, so I don't have to see you, so I can do, more expensive procedures. But that's not the vibe I'm going for here. This is more, a good dental experience, kind of hobby thing that I'm doing. I've mostly learned that from my dad. It might even be a bad habit because, I mean, this is a career. Maybe I should be focusing a little bit more on the finances. But I took it from my dad. My dad's dad, who my grandfather was a physician, and they always just kind of treated one patient at a time. And they said, "Don't worry." I mean, they're kind of the religious type, especially my grandfather. He was like, "Just don't worry." He goes, "If you do the right thing will eventually reward you. Just take it one person at a time." And he goes, "Don't worry, the money will be there. If you're a good dentist, you're a good doctor, the money will come." That's not entirely true. We know that this is the business world, but
But I get what you mean, and I do want to
yeah.
say this and that because you actually do care. Like people do text you like dental questions, and you actually answer.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. You wouldn't believe the pictures I have on my phone. It's just a bunch of mouths. Hey, does this look okay to you? That one's blurry. Send one again. But I do, yeah. With my patients, they have my direct cell phone, and I prefer that. I want to be informed. I want to know what's coming in tomorrow. I want to know if there's a problem. I want to know right away. It and some dentists are like, I hate that. I don't want that to be a part of my life. I understand, but I will say that it's not just one benefit, because the thing is, as soon as something happens, I get the clearest information. If I mess up or something didn't go totally well, I can improve my skill next time because I'm getting the feedback right away instead of asking a week later, how did that feel? How was that feeling an hour later? You don't remember that well. What did it look like? I want to know right away. I'm learning just as much. And I think that people that don't get the information right away, they're missing out on some information they could be getting, because the doctors usually are like, man, I wouldn't do that. That sucks. They're not paying me. I don't have time for that kind of thing, which I understand totally. It does consume that life. Your life does get consumed by your work, but I I do think there's a lot of value in it. So I keep it that way. Sometimes it can be annoying, but in general, I would say that it's very rare that one of my patients abuses that cell phone thing, that cell phone connection. Usually they're very apologetic if they need to schedule an appointment. I can't reach the front desk or something. I'm sorry, but I know this isn't your job, but can I do this? But it's very rare that they use it for something weird like that.
That's awesome.
Generally all emergencies.
Right. So, wow, we're this is awesome. We're running way over time, but are you okay with the time? I just feel
I'm okay. I'm
you're
totally
okay.
good with
Okay,
time.
because there's so many questions. So, what would be like a nightmare girlfriend to have?
Nightmare girlfriend. Time, baby. It's time. Time still, I would say time is the only resource that we are actually bound to, right? We can't get that back. Money, sure. A lot of people think that money's a thing, but it's not really money. You can have a money draining girlfriend, but here's the thing. If you live forever, you will, even making $1 a day, you will eventually become rich. But time, I think a needy, not that spending time is the worst girlfriend. If it is, you should reevaluate the
Yeah.
girlfriend or your boyfriend.
Right.
But spending a lot of time is really important to everybody. And I think that even the girlfriend or boyfriend, your significant other, should know that, although you guys are together, I mean, you guys are also individuals, and
Right.
you guys need your own time and your own space. You can't. I know that that's a kind of a cliche thing. Now you guys are becoming one, but let's not completely become one, because we are two different individuals
Right. For
coming
sure.
together.
For sure.
We're definitely a team, and in that sense, we're one. But We definitely need our own space and our own things to breathe. We don't have to have exactly the same interests. I feel like a lot of times
Actually, it's
people are like,
better when you
no,
don't. Yeah, when you're in completely different fields and have completely different interests, sometimes it works better.
yeah, sometimes it works better. You come back, and if you get to, you get to have time off from me, or I get time off from you, and when we come back together, usually if we're both feeling happy with whatever we did that day, we'll have a good, pleasant experience. Otherwise, we feel like we're kind of holding each other back. You kind of feel like you're stuck in the mud feeling. You don't want that. You want to make sure that there's time for each other. I think that that's one of the big keys, and I think one of the other biggest key for the relationship is that you have similar values, like world outlook. What do you want to accomplish, or what do you value more than the other thing? I think those two together, the time, like giving each other space and having like a similar values, like what your similar directions in life. I think that is probably the two keys as far as I've come across. I think that, like, as it might change as I learn more, but those seem to be the two most essential ingredients, I think, for a long-term relationship. I think
When you say
space and that.
Yeah, when you say needy with time, like how much time do you feel like is it the attitude that she approaches it with it, or do you feel like it's okay, we spend like an hour a day and like that's it? Or like how do you is it a
No,
feeling
I
that
think
she's needy? Yeah, or is it like an actual time suck or both?
it can be both. I think it could be like emotionally needy, it can be time needy, it can be just like verbal reinforcement needy, and everyone's a little different. And I think
Right,
that
right.
there's this weird thing called, like, I just figured out about it not too long ago. It's like love language. What's your love language? Some people
Hmm.
do like acts of kindness or something like this.
Right, right.
I didn't know what that meant. I looked it up initially, and for me it's touch. So like I usually, and I always say I'm nicer in person, and I finally figured out what that meant is because, like, I say a lot of mean things, and like usually if you say something sweet to me, I don't know how to respond. I had a bad response. Haha, awkward laugh, or yeah, not as much as me or you or something. I give bad responses, but I think that, like, a lot of times, like a hug for me, or like a pat on the back, a massage at the end of the day, that kind of thing is kind of like how I express that I still care, right? Whereas some people, they need that constant verbal, and I realize that that can get in the way a lot of times, because that some people, they just need that verbal thing, and they need you to text them every day. Hey, I love you. Hey, good morning. I am I am bad about it, and I think if you need that kind of thing, I can't do it. It's just not me.
That makes
And
sense. Yeah. Hmm.
so I guess someone like that needs to be with someone who
Yeah.
does
Exactly.
that,
Hmm.
because if that's exactly what you need and you can't figure any way around it, and you don't understand like the touch aspect, or some other love language that doesn't really do it for you, what can you do? Because that's how I express it. And I always think that I need to be in front of somebody so I can kind of like express it. I can hug, I can like kind of like show them my contact, or whatever it is that I can do for them physically. But the verbal stuff, not great. I used to talk about that thing. I think, I'm not sure if you heard me say it, but I used to joke with Vin. I go, I don't get it. I don't understand this phone sex thing. I go, I giggle like a schoolgirl. I can't do it. I had someone try to do it with me one time. She's like, just sit down. She's like, don't worry, I'm good at it. I'll tell you how this goes. And it's always like, maybe I'm just like a bad verbalizer, but she's like, okay, now what are you thinking now? What are you doing now? I'm like, I'm sitting on my couch. uh, uh, she's like, yeah, you should touch yourself. I'm like, yeah, but it's really not working. She's like, just like make up, just say it is. Okay. And
Oh
then
my
she'll
god.
say stuff, and I always laugh. So it's not gonna work out.
Oh my god. Did you pay for it or like somebody just offered to?
No, it was a girlfriend of mine. We tried to do long distance for a little bit.
Oh my god.
And she was in Boston, and she was like, okay, let me do this for you. And just like, hey, this is not gonna work. It's not working. She's like, stop
Yeah.
laughing. Stop laughing.
Oh my
That
god.
was it.
I think
But
you
different
ruined
love
phone sex for
languages.
many people who are listening, but
Yeah.
whatever. Whatever. Let's move on to the next question. So what qualities would you look for in a man if you were a woman?
Uh, that one's unique. I think that I don't know if it's uniquely a girl thing. Like, if I'm looking for a certain man, I'm gonna try to answer it that way. I think girls, they're always. I guess like I don't see I can understand why girls like the physical aspect of it. They're like, okay, yeah, this guy's muscular or he's tall, because those are like, phenotypic, like, it's expressed. The guy is like usually more muscular, a little bit leaner, a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger. So I see that. But I think in general, as a girl, um or just as a person looking for somebody, it's not really, I think after you get over that thing, because when you're inexperienced, you think it's something to do with a physical expression. Like, you think maybe it's a height thing, maybe it's like a muscular build thing, and maybe you even think it's a finance thing. But of course, if your finances are totally shot and you're searching through garbage cans for food, that kind of thing, then of course you need someone who can financially back you. But in general, if you and I don't think that, I think honestly that an individual should be self-sufficient, or an individual by themselves, you should be self-sustaining by yourself before you find a partner, because otherwise you're going to have to make so many compromises. Because if you just need money, then you're going to have to find someone who has money, right? And especially if you need a lot of it, you have to find someone that has money. But I'm saying, if you're a self-sufficient person, barring any kind of like dire needs of something that you absolutely have to have, I think in general you'd have to I think that the more mature way to do it is to kind of like look at the all encompassing, personality that we always talk about. But I think the best thing I have that I can offer is friends, someone who feels like a best friend, and that's kind of also cliche, but I don't know if butterflies in the stomach. I know a lot of girls say that. Like, I know that I'm not attracted to them because I don't have butterflies in my stomach. Don't know if that's real attraction, because I mean, at some point, butterflies in the stomach is going to go away. Uh, what I'm trying to say is that basically, when you look back on your life and you look at your relationships, I think the ones that tend to stick around are friends. And I think friendship is what you'd be looking for. I think the best friend kind of feel to it, where you can be silly, you can be funny, you don't feel like you have to talk all the time. You don't feel the butterflies because the butterflies means that you kind of have a kind of that exhilarating kind of like nervousness.
Right.
It's unsustainable. You feel nervous all the time. You're gonna be nervous all the time around your husband or your spouse. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
not what it's supposed to be like. What?
yeah.
What?
Or if you're crying all the time,
Yeah,
like,
like
yo,
what?
get
That's not
out.
supposed to
Yeah.
be right.
Wait, he's not supposed to hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. It's not supposed to hit me. What? Oh man, I'm not supposed to walk on eggshells all the time. What is craziness? Interesting. So like, shit. Where's my thing? Oh, so what do you think about live streaming? Because like that's kind of how people know you as. But like, what are your thoughts on it?
I like live streaming. Maybe it's just like me being like a super traditional Asian, culture instilled by my parents, but I don't think it's like a real thing. I guess it can be lucrative. Some people make a living off it, maybe a good living. For me, I like it because it's like,
Like a hobby.
yeah, it's a hobby. People that tune in. I like talking. I like to say things. I like this more than just live streaming. I like
Hmm.
this interaction, the back and forth. I like that way better. So if it's like a live stream where people can come on, like a radio show, that would be really cool. My friend used to say that. My friend Eric, that I used to go to school with, I think he's doing oral surgery now, but he used to be like, I want to be a radio show host. And he actually, talking to him, he gave me a lot of ideas, and the way he talked, and he's a silly person too. He's a really funny person. I I like his personality. He's a great storyteller. I try to be as good as a storyteller as he is, but he's got a lot of practice. He used to do some broadcasting in his college, radio broadcast. But I like it. I think it's a really good hobby. I just feel like if you're gonna make it a career thing, it might take the fun. I worry that it might take the fun out of it, where I can kind of just go on and just kind of do it casually, kind of meet other people, kind of, you know say stuff sometimes, like, your online persona. You can say some stuff just to rile people up and see what their emotions are. I to be honest, half the things I might say might not even be real truths, and sometimes I'm just there
What?
to see, yeah, what
Yeah,
does
see
she
how they.
say? What
Yeah,
will
yeah,
he say? What will
yeah.
she? How will they respond?
Yeah.
A little bit sociopathic, right? Just kind of poking at the cuts and stuff, poking at the seams, see what happens. So, but I like it. I do like it. I do like the broadcasting thing. It's nice. Live streaming. I certainly cater to a certain crowd. I don't know.
No
Obviously
way.
there's,
No way.
there's, yeah. there's, some
Oh
people want
man.
totally silly. Some people want, some people want sexual something, but
But
it just,
you give them all. Like when they tell you to take off your clothes, you do. So like, you're
yeah, I
pretty
like to try to cater to
yeah.
the fans, right, as
Yeah,
much
you
as I
do.
can.
You do for
Cater
sure.
to them.
So what are some funny patient stories? You said you made some notes and I really want to know now. Yelling patient in
Oh yeah.
radiology? What?
One of the weirdest ones was the patient that I had in radiology, and that's because I never knew that it was going to be like this, but I didn't realize that people got so like graphic. This lady, inner city, all medical not all of them, but basically most of all medical and dental schools are in inner city, where there's a kind of a poor population that needs a lot of help, needs a lot of services. But anyways, I had this, most likely was doing a lot of drugs and blowing out her teeth because of it. But she was in there and she's like, I can't take X-rays. And in a radiology rotation, you have to take X-rays. And she is just like, she was saying all sorts of filth, and I was like looking around at my professors, like trying to see what they're gonna respond to her by, and she just couldn't control what she was gonna say. Like she's just saying all sorts of stuff. She's like, I can't take big things in my mouth, blah blah blah. She's saying all this stuff, like alluding to a lot of oral sex stuff, and I was just like, oh my god. And here's me trying to put the sensor in there, and like, just hold still. And she's like, I can't do it. She's like, I'm not gag. She goes, and after somehow we got a couple X-rays, enough that it was satisfactory, and we're trying to get her out of there. And she was like, my boyfriend, she goes, my boyfriend would be proud. Can I have those X-rays so I can send them to my boyfriend and tell him that I get that sensor in my mouth or something like that? And I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. There's some other ones where a lot of them not so much like ha ha funny, more funny in the way that I was like highly uncomfortable. I just the other one that's gonna raise a whole bunch of questions that I probably don't want to field in one
Yeah,
place,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I had a transgender patient that had HIV positive as well as other drugs. And during my rotation, I have to disclose that information to my attendant. This guy is directly overseeing your procedure. He needs to know, okay? And I'm a student doc, so I have to report. The guy walks into the room and I report. I go, this female is on, and I'm trying to is on estrogen and stuff like that. And I'm trying to tell him like, yeah. And at some point I got to HIV positive, and I think the backstory from this patient was that uh, she left Miami because like she's that they have a small community there, and I guess they kind of like something happened and they outcasted and ended up in Boston. But he goes, what? She goes, what? And she sort of yells at the attending, or she yells at me and says, you can't disclose that information. I don't know who that guy is, and like, you're breaking HIPAA, and you're violating all these things. And the thing was that there was a couple people in there. She's getting some teeth removed, and there's a periodontist in there, and there's a prosthodontist who's a restorer who puts the piece. Periodontist is a gum specialist. Prosthodontist is a specialist in replacing the missing parts, teeth or whatever, body parts. And the oral surgeon is I'm doing my oral surgery residency, so I'm taking out the tooth, and he's overseeing it. And so basically, the oral surgeon goes, like, looks at me, gives me a look, and he's like, I'll handle this. And he goes, you just step back for a second. And he goes, okay. He goes, and he goes around the room. He starts poking at it. He starts telling everybody what their specialty is and why they need to be involved, and how that they will be an essential part of their treatment in the future. And then he like kind of comes over to me, and I'm a resident, and I'm I'm acting as the oral surgeon at the time, so technically I'm the oral surgeon there. So he gets to me and he goes, Dr. Lee over here, he's Asian, so he knows what he's doing. Patient goes, I'm looking because I don't have years and years of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have that like that CV
Right.
everyone else has. They have years. These guys are like the best in their field. They have their own private clinics. I'm just a student, and then he's like trying to talk everyone up. So he like looks at me. He goes, "Yeah, and he's Asian, so he's knows what he's doing." I look over at the patient. I look at the
Yeah.
I look at the patient like I'm like worried. I'm like,
Yeah.
and the patient nods, and I go, "Yep, it's gonna work. Yep, it's working. It's gonna work.
Oh my god, so funny.
It's working."
Oh my god.
But that is an important community thing. Transgender people, they get shunned a lot in the hospitals because
I'm sure, yeah.
we don't have long-term research. I just want to bring that up real quick because we don't have a lot of long-term research. And I saw on the radio not too long ago that they were like, oh, these doctors they're very gender biased or something like that. But just to defend doctors and hospitals for a second is just, I always want to say it's like, we don't have a lot of research. So a lot of times you guys do get shuttled around. Like, so the when you're doing transgender stuff, you get shuttled around because we're confused about the medications that you're taking, because there's a lot of different, like, do we get different dosages? We're not really sure how the transition is going to interact with our medications. And in general, we do try to treat it, but it's a lot of times out of our territory. There may need to be another group of doctors for that. I don't know what the future holds for that. But as soon as more long-term research comes out, I'm sure that your primary care physicians will be just as good at handling this kind of thing. But I don't really know how some of these I guess the hormones they put into people, I don't really know exactly how it's going to interact with some of the medications I give either. So in general, for me, I don't have to give like very interesting medications, usually just painkillers and antibiotics. That's not going to really affect anything. But for other doctors and big surgeries and stuff, it might. So that might be one reason why. But I don't want to get too much into that.
That's awesome. I thank you for telling us that. It's freaking hilarious.
That's
Oh my god! Wow. Oh, okay. So I love it. You are good. So your friend is a better storyteller than you, or what? All right.
Yeah, we gotta get Eric on here.
All right. How can I bamboozle a doctor to date me?
Bamboozle them. Academics usually not. The typical experience is that they're like, usually doctors are nerds and they're not gonna have a lot of social experience. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. So it's like, I think you can bamboozle them by you can trap these guys if you just like are really nice to them. You might want to now. I might not want to pick like the prettiest doctor in the batch.
Yeah, gotta go old, fat, and ugly. That I know myself.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not even kidding.
Or someone who's like really shy, or like you can tell
like,
they don't know anything. That you gotta show them the ropes. Hey, come here, come with me.
Okay.
The problem is that this can backfire, because then like after they get some experience, they might just start
date someone
stuff
else.
on you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah, but you can trap them in. And it's like if you're the first girlfriend, or like the first time they ever had sex, or you take their virginity or something like that, they'll be like, "Oh man, this feels so great. I love this girl." Because the first time, that, right? The whole thing where you cling on to the first one, like
right.
You're never gonna get another one again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe that's what you gotta find. Hey, which one of these doctors are virgins that have never been with any girls?
I gotta get their hymen checked. I gotta pull a TI, get their hymen checked, make sure they're a virgin. Like, all right. Okay. What angers you?
I'd say I get frustrated because you already know I'm like very, very logical. And the reason why I think I become so logical, so some people almost say like you don't ever put any value in emotion, you're not emotional at all, you don't put any value into it. The problem is that because we have two different value systems. With emotional values change, it can change second to second. Your mom dies and all of a sudden you're sad. Like a second ago you were happy. That if you revert to emotional decision making, it doesn't apply to everyone else, and it's very difficult for everyone to get on the same page as you.
Yes.
And so for me, I'm a very logical decision maker. I try to pull my emotions come in at the very end of my decision where I go, they're exactly the same, whether I do or I don't. How would this make me feel? Then I make my decision. But people that are very emotional decision makers, they genuinely frustrate me so much, especially when I have to work with them on something serious. It frustrates me so much because I can't get on the same page. And when I try to explain it, all of a sudden, I have to be on the defense because it's always like, you're so inhuman. Like, you don't love anything. You don't. And I'm just like, can you stop it? We're trying to make the optimal decision here. Trying to make the optimal decision. And I get attacked. I get attacked for what I think is my good decision making process. So you're attacking something that I believe. This is me. I truly believe this is the best way, and this is a core piece of me. And when you go, you're a bad person, or you're not considering other people's feelings and stuff, I go, it's not that I'm not considering them. I'm using that at the end after we make the decision that's the most beneficial one. And I lump this into stupid people. They're not stupid. They just make it different. They make a different value judgment, which I consider stupid. Therefore, they are. But
That makes sense.
that's what
Yeah.
I say.
Yeah. Cool.
But I think everyone will say stupid people frustrate them, right? You gotta work with somebody else.
Absolutely. So, what makes you happy? If anything makes you happy.
Nothing makes me happy. Sometimes okay, here's what I say. Here's what I say. The most flattering thing, this is a weird thing, and it's happened to me a couple times, so I know that it kind of gives me a little buzz.
Yeah.
Is alcohol. No, I'm just that's not alcohol.
That makes sense. You're Korean. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, who am I to judge?
It was when someone that doesn't like you ask for your opinion. They hate you. Let's just say they traditionally hate you, or it has become your enemy because you see what I'm saying? Like, they don't like you because like the way you are, you told them something, you told them too many truths, and they decide, you know what, you're too mean. I'm not going to be your friend anymore.
Right.
It's like, you know what, you can't be doing that because you're not smart enough for someone that you kind of put down, but you're trying to do it so that they move to the next subject.
Yeah,
or something
like to kind of get
them
to think in a different level. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And so I have sometimes that where that person comes back and goes, you know what? They come 4, 5, 6 years later, maybe 10 years later, they come back and they come back and they go, you know what? Actually, I think you were right, and I'd like to ask you a couple more questions. So it's okay with you. Get that Facebook notification.
I think you did that. You did. I feel like you triggered me so much in the beginning. I was like, who the hell are you to say all this stuff? I got so mad. Like, I am not going to repeat it on the podcast because it's so messed up.
Mean.
But eventually I could kind of see your truth to it. And I feel like you helped me in a very critical time that I don't even know if you realize. So thank you for that. But I know what you're talking about because I experienced the same thing. I feel like if people trigger you, you want to pay attention because it means you connected with them on some level. So they probably have something to say that will help you if you can get past the initial
shock.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do think that's that whole thing I was saying. Good things and bad things, they always come at a cost. You do a good thing when you compliment somebody, but then maybe they might not improve. You do a bad thing where you make fun of someone for something that they're really lacking. And the weird thing is that a good can come out of it because now they'll focus on it. Hopefully they'll focus on it and they'll improve it. So that's why I always say even sometimes doing always the nice thing or the good thing, sometimes that comes at a cost too, because then someone goes, you know what, I am the smartest person, then they're not going to study anymore. Or you know what, I am the nicest person, then how are they going to improve their self? Sometimes you have to bash somebody to kind of get you got to do the demolition before you do the restoration on the house, right? You're going to do a rescue, you got to break some stuff down first.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting thing to look at.
Okay. So who do you find funny besides me?
Ah, man, you're the funniest.
Like everyone, right? Everyone, right? Anyways, but like, who do you like? What's your humor style? Like, who do you find funny? It's like comedic sense.
The one that really got me to laugh a lot was Chris D'Elia. He's
Oh,
got
you like
the
Kristen?
Netflix.
Interesting. I didn't think you were
That
that
one
type.
was
Okay,
kind
interesting.
of hilarious. Kevin Hart, I like it, and there's some funny stuff on there, but you know he kind of panders to the audience. He's trying to be mainstream. He's going for mass appeal, right?
Hmm.
He's kind of Dave Chappelle was really good. You can't do that kind of humor. I like a lot of the the racial humor because
Mm.
you know what? I know that people say that's racist or he's being racist, but I look, man, we got races, and one of the best things that comes with uh racial diversity sometimes is the jokes. Let's let the jokes fly, man. I mean, especially I think a lot of comedians have got onto this thing where they're like, we can't make any racial jokes anymore because people are being so sensitive. Hey, this is one of the benefits. It's kind of like, you like the foods that other cultures have to offer. Come on, let's
Yeah,
do some
exactly.
stereotypes. Let's
You know
get to
what's
the
funny?
business.
Like Daniel, I wish you could see my routine, but like I recorded it, so maybe I'll send it to you. But like I
Yeah.
did a racial cards, like literal racial cards for dating. So I pulled it out at open mic. I was like strengths of the white man, and I would read it
Yeah.
out loud. I had like Asian, Muslim, Latino. I had all of it. And the fucking room, like I did it 3 times. One room loved it. Another room was dead silent. It was like, what the hell is she doing? Did it yesterday. Had a lot of fun. So. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
do
funny.
racial humor. Hell yeah. So, okay, how can we know about more about you? How can we stalk you? How can we visit you? Get our teeth drilled by you? Drop your link if you want
Oh
to be
yeah,
found
yeah.
out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can. What do I usually do? Okay, my practice is in Alexandria, Virginia. It's Alexandria Total Dentistry. Not really a creative name, but you can find it at www.alexandriatotaldentistry. That's all one running word .com, and you can find me there. You can book appointments there. You can do anything from. I pretty much cover the full scope here. We're doing wisdom teeth, extractions. We do extractions, implants, whitening, all those things. Cosmetic dentistry, veneers. They do pretty much the whole thing. That way you can, stay with one person. I know a lot of people. I didn't really initially want to do all that stuff because it is kind of hard to have all the materials around to do that stuff, and sometimes I'm kind of scrambling to find a special lab for your case. But I actually started doing that because I remember when I was working with my dad for just a couple months after out of school, I remember they were saying, everyone was like, man, I love your dad so much because I don't like going to dentists where I have to get pitched out. It's already stressful going to find one dentist. I don't want to have to see another specialist. It's not that I don't like the specialist, just it's another person, another office. It's unfamiliar. I'm nervous again. And I see that, so I try to cater to that kind of population. I also like working in house because then it's always my fault, so you know where to put that finger. Whereas it becomes a blame game sometimes when it's like, oh, well, the periodontists didn't do the right job, and then you get caught in limbo. Whereas you can just point at me, and I said, I'll make it better. It didn't go how you expected, and I can credit this. I have full control of like what can be credited and what can, like, what, maybe this didn't work out for you, so I'll take whatever you paid already for the next procedure. We'll get a solution eventually, but I know that time is invaluable. I can't get your time back, but I will be able to credit your finances for the next procedure. And I try to take care of people, so do the best I can. I try to be a little bit mean, keep people mostly at bay, because I don't need my cell phone having all these pictures of teeth. It's already weird, don't look in there. One of my friends, Eric, actually, the oral surgeon, he went to China for a little bit, like rural China. He told me some stories. He's like, what? But one of the stories that I thought was hilarious is that in the place that he was at, the doctors and the dentists are all lumped together, and they can do anything. If you're a doctor, you can do anything. Basically, it's just what you're comfortable doing. And so, while he was there, he's going in for his oral surgery rotation. So he was going to become an MD as well. So he's doing his residency there, and everyone just sits around. A lot of smoking going around. The doctors love to smoke over there. So they're all sitting in the locker room. He goes, "I love this place because I can smoke." And the dental clinic, I can never smoke. I feel like I'm like a criminal. But in China, smoke them if you got them. We got packs of cigarettes going around all day, every day. There's a locker room full of highly educated doctor bros smoking it down in the back. And yeah, I remember he said that, like, I got called in once, and that basically that's how they do. Like the new trainees, the new trainee doctors. I'm not saying they like don't know how to do anything, but they want to learn from some of these, you know, old guys that, you know, they really know their stuff. The experienced guys, maybe they're not old, but they know their stuff. And basically you wait around all day and you be nice to them. And one day when they're over full or they got extra time for you, they'll teach you something. So Eric gets the call. He goes, Eric.
I think you got cut off. Okay, you're back. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, you're back. Okay, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, it gets disconnected sometimes. But so he calls him in and he goes, I want you to do this for me. Patient's intubated. He wants to put a catheter in. So he puts a catheter. He goes, just do what? And he's like, he goes, yeah, just grab it like this and just slide in the catheter into it. He's like, get his penis. So he like unwraps the catheter. He does it. That's not the interesting part of the story, but after he finishes
okay.
it, yeah, after he finishes it, he's like, I didn't know I was going to be working on this end. I'm an oral surgeon. But so he does it, and then he grabs Eric's phone. He goes, give me your phone. He's gonna take a picture, and he goes, can you do this? Can you take it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm in China. I guess I can do this. He takes a picture of him, and then at first he takes a kind of stiff picture. He goes, nah, loosen up. So he loosens up, and he's leaning over the penis. This guy's out. The patient's out. He's leaning over this penis, smiling with his thumbs up with a catheter in his penis, and it's like really close to his face. And he goes, so I lost my phone at the club, and he goes, I hope no one like finds that phone and looks through the pictures, because there's gonna be a couple pictures of me next to penises with my thumbs up, with my face very close to it. I was like, wow, it's crazy.
Oh what are we talking about? I was gonna give you a chance to promote your bread. Do you want to talk about Instagram or no? You want to keep it secret?
Oh no, yeah, you can put the Instagram on there.
I don't know where your Instagram is. Just
my Instagram is I think my personal one, which I kind of just lump all together, is Daniel J. Lee. There's no spaces or capital letters, but it's DANIEL JAYLEE. That's my Instagram handle. But I think I have a professional one. There's one for the practice, but it's not that interesting because I always wanted to develop it a little bit better, but I never really focused on it. I do have a lot of pictures that I want to put on there, and I do want to do giveaways on there at some point, like whitening giveaways, things that, like, you know, everybody wants to do. But that one's not. I think that one's just like I gotta look it up. The Instagram for the office is going to be, I think it's like Alexandria. Oh, it's the same thing. It's Alexandria Total Dentistry, just all one learning word, with no spaces or capital letters. But that's just on there. So that has if you want to follow it there. I don't know how many people are going to be.
I'm curious. I feel like after this is out, you're gonna be swimming in the pee. Okay, by pee I mean penis. So
nice. nice.
No, but but seriously, I want to thank you so much for doing this interview, because you helped me a lot, even though we have this weird relationship where we kind of like hate each other. But but I think it. So I was like, who's a funny dentist? No, oh wait, hey, Daniel's a funny dentist. So thank you for being on here. You were actually educational, so thank you for that, and also hilarious. Yeah, you did a good job. So thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate it. Everybody, get your teeth fixed by him if you're in the DC area, and thank you so much again.